know what? Not today, Satan. So here's what's going to go on. I'm just going to read this story. And before I do, I'm going to give you a caution, okay? Please refrain from hate to the maximum extent practicable on this YouTube, because you don't want your channels flagged, okay? So let's refrain from as much hate as possible. So I'm just going to get right to the story, and then we'll give our commentary afterward. I will. White West Virginia couple forced their adopted black children to work as slaves and live in barn. A couple who have been accused of locking up their adopted black children and forcing them to work as slaves have been sent behind bars once again. Donald Ray Lance, 63, and Jean K. Whitefeather, 62, of Charleston, West Virginia, pled not guilty on Tuesday to over a dozen new charges after their kids were found locked in a dilapidated shed after laboring on the surrounding farmland. The new charges included human trafficking of a minor child, use of a minor child in forced labor, and child neglect, creating substantial risk of serious bodily injury or death. Their bond has now been set at $500,000 each, which is $300,000 more than each of their original bonds. The couple's first arrest took place in October after it was discovered that the couple's 5 adopted children, all of whom were black, were forced to live in a locked barn in squalor conditions. The latest indictment claims the couple is guilty of human rights violations, speculating that the couple forced their children into hard labor because of their race. Kanawha County Circuit Judge Mary Claire Atkers told Metro News that this case is the first of its kind that she has seen in her career, and that the couple's original bond of $200,000 was insufficient compared to the severity of their crimes. Along with human trafficking and neglect was serious risk of bodily injuries or death. I don't find the bond to be sufficient, Atkers said. It alleges human trafficking, human rights violations, the use of forced labor. Human rights violations specific to the fact that these children were targeted because of their race and that they were used basically as slaves, from what the indictment alleges. Prosecutors previously raised concern that the couple's $400,000 bond money in February might have come from their alleged human traffic activities. Kanawha County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Christopher Krivoniak reported that the couple, who previously claimed to have no assets or income, sold an 80-acre ranch in Tonasket, Washington for $725,000 on February 2nd. 3 days later, Whitefeather's brother posted $200,000 bonds to get the couple out of jail cells they were being held in. Human rights violations specific to the fact that these children were targeted because of their race and they were used basically as slaves, from what the indictment alleges. I reread that. Sorry, strike that off. I read that twice for some reason. However, the teenage girl told deputies they'd been locked in the building for approximately 12 hours and were last given food in the morning. The building only had a small RV porta potty and no running water, according images from inside and the initial police report. The children were also forced to sleep on hard concrete floor, they said. Court documents said neighbors reported that the children were being forced into farm labor and were not allowed inside the main house. Filings also state that the teenage boy reeked of body odor and has had open sores on his bare feet. Deputies found 9-year-old girl inside the main house 3 hours after police arrived at the scene. Lance came home with the 11-year-old boy, while Whitefeathers surrendered their 6-year-old girl to authorities, who's been with friends from the couple's church. Their trial is set for September 9th. Again, I didn't mean to reread that same line, You cannot tell me. And see, this could be allegedly until you consider that neighbors, plural, the S at the end, stated that they believe that these children were being used as forced labor. Even if this is just an allegation, how do you explain having a home sufficient enough to hold those children, but you'd rather lock them in a barn 12 hours a day? And please explain to me how this last sentence. Lance came home with the 11-year-old boy, while White Feather surrendered their 6-year-old girl to authorities who have been with friends from the couple's church. See, that second to last line I meant to say is telling. Did those kids ever go to church with them full time? And if they had, did they ever let it slip to an adult that this was happening to them in that church? Did anyone in that church have any sense of discernment that something was going on in that home? Because when you lock someone whom you've adopted, five human beings, 5 minors at that, who are of the same race and you are a different race, it is given plantation / slave master vibes. Okay, there's no way to get around this. Appearances are not everything, but sometimes they are, and that's what this appears to be. The boy had sores on his feet like slave labor. And then the thing that really got me, the church as is, that got under my skin. That in itself just got me fuming. Because who sits in that church and has no discernment? There's possibility that they didn't know. Where's your discernment? That the sibling of the mother, of the adoptive mother, had the nerve to pay the $200,000 each to get both these idiots out, even with neighbors saying that they had seen these children being treated like slaves. With all due disrespect, sir, because I have no respect for you, because I think it was a brother. How do you decide that it's okay for your adopted nieces and nephews, regardless of their skin color right now, didn't deserve humanity, to only be in a building, as they say, with a small RV porta potty and no running water? The children were also forced to sleep on hard concrete floor, they said, when the parents had a warm, inviting home for them to sleep in. Sir, how do you live with yourself? It's giving birds of a feather flock together, sir. See, let's have a honest to goodness conversation about human trafficking and black children, okay? And let me preface this by saying, no child should be trafficked regardless of their race, okay? I have no respect for any person of any race who traffics a child, any gender or whatever gender you claim that traffics a child. But let's not pretend that black children don't go missing in the United States and that very few people want to discuss it. There's been whole documentaries on it. The most pathetic part of this article is that the neighbors even said and reported it, and they still blew it off, right? Why? Probably because they had that go to church on Sunday, small town respectability. Look, this is not a video of hate, because I'm not going after any one race of people, okay? These kids were psychologically traumatized, physically traumatized. and were made to know things. Because come on, that 6-year-old is old enough to understand what's going on, despite the fact that she can't articulate it yet, okay? See, I'm taking pauses because I'm fuming right now. Because the good Lord knows, regardless of race, how many more kids are going through this. But black children come up missing in this country all the time, and no one wants to talk about it. The Lord willing, this is happening on a small scale, but it shouldn't happen at all. And we all know it shouldn't freaking happen at all, but we know that it is. I'm going to end it here and let you all put your comments in the comment section. I'm not even going to put the link to this, because I saw that shed and it was just absolutely, that's just absolutely disgusting. It gave slave cabin, modern day slave cabin vibes. These people's fetish was so on fleek that they adopted 5 children under the guise of being their parents when they really saw them as chattel and beneath them. So when all children stop coming up missing, particularly the neglect of black children in this country, do me a favor. Quit telling us to get over it.